Welcome once again to Critique Central Sports. You're here with me, Gene, the Booth Daddy. And on this segment, I'm just going to give my honest opinion about the Champions League final. There are two ways to look at this. Well, you can praise PSG and you can bash Inter Milan for their showing. Their atrocious showing on Saturday. It was horrific. It was terrible. I love goals. I mean, that's the whole essence of playing football, is to score goals and win games. Right. If it was just any other normal fixture, that would have been a very interesting game because PSG played wonderfully well. But to think that that was a final, and then the guys from Milan, they flew all the way from Milan to Germany, to Munich, and then have the fans support them, come in their numbers at the Allianz Arena just to put up that performance is very appalling. It's embarrassing to say the least. It was not what we all expected, but that's what turned out to be. And a lot of Milan fans are calling for the head of Inzaghi. That's their manager. There's not much to say. You can say all sorts of things and it still wouldn't do justice to that awful and woeful performance by Internazionale. So what are we going to do? We're just going to give PSG their props, their flowers for being relentless from the get-go. Did you see how they kicked off that game? They just started the game and then they just put the ball straight out of touch and then started pressing PSG from the onset. You remember there was a point in the second half where Dembele stood eagerly ready to press, waiting for the goal kick from Jan Sommer, eagerly waiting to press. That was everything. But at some point in time, we'll have to talk about the fall of Italian football. They were once at the very top in the mid-2000s. Let me just say throughout the entire 2000s, from 2000 to 2010. They were at the very top. They had the best players in the world playing in their leagues, and this time around, this is what the Italian football has become. Last night, Kate Abdo, who is a journalist and a broadcaster who represents CBS Sports, was interviewing an Italian legend, Christian Vieri, and she was asking him about what happened to Italian football. And he had a few things to say. Christian Vieri was talking about how the talent isn't there as much as it used to be back in the golden era. The Italian golden era actually won the World Cup in 2006. They've had many golden eras, but that was one of the best ones of the lot. And they won the World Cup in 2006, and everything has gone downhill since then because the talent has just fallen off. I just want to give my honest opinion about Italian football. One of the few things that crashed Italian football early was the lack of investment, and that was as a result of their scandals and corruption. A lot of companies and big companies didn't want to invest in that kind of markets, that kind of league. They didn't want to be associated with many of the top football teams that were investigated at that time. Juventus in the 2000s, and even happened again. You understand? And all these things affected the league. There was not enough sponsorship coming into the league. The investment hit very hard on the academies because they didn't have so much money to develop their academy football, whereas Spain and England and even Portugal and France, they've actually leveled up with talent over the past 5 to 10 years because they've invested so much money into their academies. And all these things have affected Italian football. Also, you cannot speak of development, player development and upbringing and not speak about infrastructure. Italian football over the years have really struggled with infrastructure. Their infrastructure, they are older than time itself. If you go to Roma, where Lazio plays and Roma plays, their stadiums and their training facilities, everything is old. It was quite recently that Juventus got their new stadium and training centers. But for the most of the teams, they are all old and you cannot compete like that and expect your young talents to perform at the very top level. Whereas England and Spain and Germany and France have pumped in like billions of euros and pounds into their youth development and infrastructure. These are some of the things that have affected Italian football over the years. And well, who knows? Maybe they can change things along the way, but just to make you feel cool, just don't forget, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share it with a friend, to another friend, to another friend. Let us go viral. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. So please help us. Let's get to that goal. So if you remember last season, right, Kylian Mbappe Lotin was with PSG in his final year. And there was a video that surfaced on the internet where Luis Enrique was telling him about him being acknowledging his talent, that he was the best player on that team and one of the best players in the world. But he has to show leadership. And if he has to show leadership, he has to start with defense. And Luis Enrique makes reference to Kylian Mbappe's role model because he admires Michael Jordan. Kylian Mbappe, you went to Real Madrid and you still didn't take that advice. Because if your role model is Michael Jordan was a defensive demon. He was a steals champion. He was all defensive team 9 times in the NBA. So as much as he was prolific and efficient in scoring, he was a beast on defense. And you know, Luis Enrique was very right about it from the very start, that you have to show leadership and you have to show that by committing yourself to defend. And if you remember in the Champions League final around the 82nd minute where Denzel Dumfries got the ball on a break and he was just charging on a counter attack, and then you could see Kvaratskhelia, they were leading 4-0. Kvaratskhelia ran back, tussled hard with Denzel Dumfries and won the ball. That was incredible. They were leading 4-0. That is what Luis Enrique wants in his team. And that is the character, the grit, the grind, the passion to play, to give it your all for 90 minutes and not just waiting for your midfield and your defenders to do their job and so that they can feed you and then you score. You have to show, you have to lead and lead by example. And that was what he was looking out for. So if you remember that video, my producer is going to put it on the screen for you to watch so that you see what I'm talking about.
Yo te he leído que te gustaba Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan cogía de a todos sus compañeros y se ponía a defender como un hijo de. Tú tienes que dar ese ejemplo primero como persona y como jugador de ir a presionar. Vas a tener a Cubarsí, vas a ser tú el que marca a Cubarsí y a Ter Stegen. Y te vas a pegar todo el partido presionando a Cubarsí que no avance y presionando a Ter Stegen pero que juegue rápido. Y volviendo rápido. ¿Para qué? Para ser un líder.
So, just as you could see in the video, it is what it is, Kylian Mbappe, where, you know, managers like players that are going to work hard. It was reported less than 24 hours ago by Marca. I don't know how credible it is. You know, Marca, they always love to cook up stories, but sometimes they get it right. It was written in one of their news outlets that Xabi Olana Alonso was going to play a 4-3-3, but then he also wanted his attackers to be very involved in defensive duties. So Kylian Mbappe, you cannot run away from it. You have to embrace it. You have to embrace it and then give it your all. That's the only way you're going to succeed. There's a power shift in football, if you are going to be honest. Investment in sports washing. Is it not surprising that the 3 teams to be investigated for breaching financial fair play rules have all won the Champions League? Chelsea did in 2021. Manchester City did in 2023. And here, now we are PSG in 2025. And this is what is happening. They pump money in so much that it breaks the rules, but then they don't get They don't get sanctioned. They don't get fined. They get to walk scot-free. Manchester City spent 280 million. I mean, if they complete this, they spent 180 million pounds on their general transfer windows. If they are able to complete the signing of Ryan Cherki and Ryan Aït-Nouri from Wolverhampton Wanderers, amongst other signings, rumored signings, that figure can go up to over 300 million. That's incredible. 300 million euros just in 6 months. That's how much they've spent. Not talking about all the other months. PSG, it's crazy. PSG spent a reported 240 million euros on new signings this season. And last season, they spent 455 million. They are currently a very good and exciting team to watch, but you cannot neglect the fact that this is what they are doing. Spending money. They currently have the highest wage bill of all the teams in Europe. They have the highest wage bill of 658 million. 658 million euros. And they are not the club that brings in the most revenue. So this is the discussion. What is the way forward? Is football changing? Because as far as we are all concerned, we are all waiting for the financial fair play. We are all waiting for the English FA to deal with Manchester City's 115 charges for breaking the FFP rules. We all thought City were going to be sanctioned, but here we are. City are still buying players, and they haven't made one sale. This is it. This is what we have to deal with. I don't want to be salty, but our football, the game we know it to be, is not the same anymore. It's not just about sports. It's about making a lot of cash. And the players and the organizers and the people at the helm of affairs of football in general, they only care about the money. And these big teams use that as an advantage to succeed, regardless of how they do it. And this hurts the league because as much as the Premier League is trying to bridge the gap between the very expensive or big franchises, they still find a way to escape it and then spend beyond what they are actually supposed to spend. And this is actually incredible. I don't know. I feel like something has to be done about it. But if you're a neutral fan like me, if you're a fan like me and you are waiting for Manchester City to be banned or sanctioned for what they have spent, or waiting for you to hear a report of PSG breaching sustainability rules in UEFA, then forget about it. It's not going to happen. They're just going to overlook it. And that is the gap that is going to create between the big franchises, the big markets, and the small or the medium-sized markets. It is what it is. Still, huge props to PSG. I felt like it was their time and they took advantage of it. They came out gunning. They gunned Inter Milan down. So much for a team that has gunners in their names, but they can't gun anything for. So this is it. What do you think is going through Mbappe's head at the moment? What do you think he's thinking about? The one time he leaves PSG, PSG succeeds. Maybe it will be his time next season. Maybe not. We can only wait to see. But it's going to determine, it's going to be key for him to have a change and shift in character, for him to be able to lead Los Blancos to another Champions League victory or triumph. So, fellas, this is it. Congratulations to PSG. Inter Milan, you disappointed all of us. You didn't put up a fight. No grit, no determination, no passion. And from me and my crew, my producer, who is a Manchester United fan, we say Thank you for staying with us on this episode. You will see us again another time shortly. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Peace out.